Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you properly. So, shall we
Okay,
start?
cool. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. So, my name is Ankita Rai, and I am a student of Bachelor's of Planning from School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada. And I'm also a part of the Public Relations Cell of NOSPlan. And NOSPlan, as you all know, is a students' body organization, and we are going to have our 23rd annual NOSPlan convention, Samatolan, from 1st to 3rd April at Ditte University, Bangalore. And as part of the pre-convention event, today we are conducting the second webinar in this series of NOSPlan talks. And this webinar is in collaboration with Planning Insights. Planning Insights is a registered Indian startup recognized by Government of India. It is one of the latest platforms dedicated to professionals of urban planning, architecture, GIS, and construction management, bringing all their academic and professional skills integrated onto one platform while making the whole process rewarding. And we have today with us a self-made GIS enthusiast, Mr. Krishna Lodha, sir. Coming from a traditional business family, he learned GIS from sheer interest, and today he is the founder of Rotten Grapes Private Limited, a GIS service provider company. Mr. Krishna sir learned GIS online from different sources and started working as a freelancer soon after his graduation. With his high quality and efficient delivery of the projects, he got the exposure to work for Tribal Ministry, Government of India, and the Singapore National Government too. He has been recognized by his works and has been present and has presented at the Bicon and FOSS 4G conference, which is considered to be a very prestigious conference of the GIS industry. Apart from this, teaching is his passion, and he has been delivering curated open web GIS courses to universities in Sri Lanka and India. He's present on Udemy and has a 4.8-star rating by his students. You can also find him on YouTube for open source web GIS tutorials. We are privileged to have Mr. Krishna Lodha sir with us today and eager to hear from him on this exciting topic of career opportunities in GIS. So, over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ankita. That was a really great introduction. And yeah, I'm
Thank you,
really
sir.
excited to join you guys today because this the conference is actually about two things that I'm very passionate about. First is urban planning. Second is GIS. You might think that this is very scripted, but that's not true because I did graduation in civil engineering, and urban planning is one of the subjects that I was really interested in, and that's the reason for all the 4 years I was participating in all sorts of competitions where we have to plan the city. They will give us sort of like poster presentation and AutoCAD related drawings and things like that. So I find this very interesting because there are so many things that we can learn, and basically one decision affects a lot of lives when you think of yourself as an urban planner. And because of also being a student from a political science, I know the importance of taking good decisions. So it's very exciting. And second thing is obviously GIS is there. So GIS is something that I picked up all by myself, and As I move forward, I realize that okay, you cannot separate urban planning and GIS as two different things, because more or less, even if you decide to work in one of the domains between these two, you will meet another domain some way or another. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this. And yeah, I will just share the screen. Please, Ankita, let me know if you can see the screen, and then we can start the presentation. And I want to apologize for the presentation on first go only, because I'm really bad at making PPTs, and that's why I never got very good internal marks as well. But then yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, let me know once you see the presentation. Hello.
Yes, sir. The presentation is visible,
Okay, perfect.
and
So
it's quite nice actually.
yeah, that's for you guys to judge afterwards. So yeah, I'll leave it up to you. Okay. So geoinformatics after urban planning. So when I was approached for this particular webinar, it was very hard for me to define the title of the presentation, because I don't want to say after, I don't want to say geoinformatics in urban planning or for urban planning. So it's very confusing. And yeah, based on the presentation, you will get an idea why I said after urban planning. So a very brief introduction about me. So my name is Krishna, and I'm a founder of Rotten Grapes. It's a funny name that I just that just popped into my head because there is a Rotten Tomatoes, and it's very good site. And I live in Nasik, which is wine capital of India. So there goes Rotten Grapes. Apart from that, I am a web GIS developer. I do a lot of content creation in GIS domain as well, and I do corporate trainings. I'm very happy to connect with new people every day. So if you are on LinkedIn and if you want to talk, definitely send me a friend request over there. And if you want to learn about GIS, of course, you can follow my channel. Now, the main thing that we want to talk about is that how exactly urban planning and GIS is connected to each other, anyways. Uh, as Because you guys are actually from an urban planning background, I know that you guys know better than me regarding what exactly do we do in urban planning. But if you ask any layman that what do you think that urban planners do, a very simple answer can be, of course, they plan the cities. So if you're sitting in your home, maybe in your office or in your college, chances are very good that there was some very, very, very intelligent urban planner who did the planning of the place, and then that's why there is an infrastructure right now. GIS, on the other hand, is a beautiful thing that allows us to plan this location related information, plan these location entities, considering the past data and, of course, the future, and predicting the future as well. So when we merge these two hands together, I think we get a very unique product which takes all the science that goes behind urban planning and all the technology that we have in GIS and combine them to give a precise and scalable results. So if you think about major challenges that we face every day, as an urban planner, there are many, but if I want to name five most important challenges, I will have to give edge to, first of all, of course, precision in city planning. It's very important for urban planner to think in the future, and define different types of zones, and design the city accordingly, so that there is not much density at any particular place. But again, at the same time, the city is growing, and outside people are more interested to come to the city. One of the major challenge that comes with expanding cities is obviously utility planning. Let it be drainage, let it be telecommunication, let it be internet, let it be electricity. It's very important to plan the city properly, so that as we move forward, there is no pressure developed on the existing utility networks. And of course, there's always a chance that we can expand that network whenever we want. Third important thing that people face challenge is that how exactly, if I'm a city, if I live in some city, and if I want to report some problem, how am I going to do that? And how exactly, if I'm a city planner, I can understand that I can understand that query and I can resolve it as soon as possible. There are various things that are required, and we will have a look at it, that what are these things. Fourth is a dashboard. As our honorable prime minister started the innovation of making a lot of smart cities in India, and of course, few months back they also started a very good initiative of making the GIS data public. Now it's becoming a trend that every city will have its own dashboard, where a normal public like you and me, we can go to the dashboard, see different types of data over there, and probably also use that data in our business logic. As I work with companies in lot of with companies in lot of countries, I see that there is a major difference between the policies that we have in a very advanced country, like let's say Germany, compared to what we have in India, because a lot of businesses rely on the location data, and location data is very, very, very expensive. If government makes it publicly available, a lot of ideas can be built on top of that, and then can be used in the business logic. Even though I cannot say that uh, we are very back, but that's not the case now. Lot of data is becoming publicly available, but I think, yeah, it will still take few years for us. But then, yeah, as we said, dashboard and analysis is very important for urban planner to have a look at before making any decision, which is of course the fifth major challenge, is that how can urban planner take an informative decision based on various variables and various information that he or she has in front of them. So as far as we have seen these challenges, and as Aishwarya Rai says, that five problems, one solution, and the solution is GIS, of course. There is one myth that most of the people have about GIS, is that GIS is some sort of software or some sort of programming. But then that's not the case. GIS is not a software or a programming language. GIS more itself is a concept which consists of different components, which when we bring together, we create as a geographic information system, as a whole system. So the major parts that makes the GIS completely closed system is, first of all, data, of course. uh, as we live in a data centric world, everything that we are doing, let it be opening Instagram on our phone or making a phone call, everything is getting tracked, and all this data is being stored somewhere to make informative decisions in the future. When we talk about geographic data, usually data comes in two formats. First is a raster data, second is a vector data. So the difference between these two is that raster data is something that we get out of imageries. So if you open your phone, if you go to Google Maps and switch to a satellite view, you will see the actual imagery, which is something that is known as raster data. And of course, nowadays, so many people are using drone to capture imageries for precision farmings and things like that. Or even if you see, a lot of the highways and everything are now visualized via drone. The videos are made via drone in order to understand the progress and things like that. So all this comes as a raster data, while the data which we create using the coordinate systems, like let's say lat long, for example, is a vector data. So vector data will be generally point, line, or polygon, these soft data. So all this data play makes very basically this data is very important for anyone to process on it. And of course, when we have the data, then we need different types of algorithms to actually use that data to create some logic out of it. So there are a lot of algorithms, a lot of formulas that are developed specifically for GIS. So for example, Thiessen polygon, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it or not, but Thiessen polygon is one of very important thing in when we consider the water resource management or dam industry and things like that. Then once we know the algorithm, once we know the data, then it comes all then everything comes to the analysis, where we actually take that data and then we create some logic out of it. If it's a past data, then we try to find some patterns in that data using some specific algorithm, which helps us to predict the future. And once we know what analysis we have to do, then the final step is processing, where then we will either use some softwares, or we will use some programming language, or maybe we'll write some scripts to actually get the result which will make sense in a layman's term. So this journey from data to algorithm to analysis to processing entirely makes up the geographic information system. So I hope this is clear to you, clear to you guys, that what exactly do we mean by geographic information system. Now let's try to understand that how exactly GIS can help us in dealing those five challenges that we had a look at just few minutes back. So again, if we want to recap, we have to be sure that we are planning the city with the precision. Then we are planning the utilities with precision so that we can scale it to the level we want. At the same time, we are not placing utilities where there is no need and unnecessarily investing the money. Then a easier way for normal people to communicate with the authority, a dashboard for normal people, for businessmen, or even for authority to have a look at the entire data whenever they want on their phone or on their laptop very easily. And of course, the most important is the decision making system. So we'll have a look at these five problems and how exactly these five problems can be solved using GIS. The first one is precise city planning. It's very important for us to plan a city properly so that it attracts businesses, it attracts factories, and of course people to come and live in the city. As a city planner, our sole target is that we plan a city such in such a manner that it balances between the financial world and of course with the environment as well. So using a single storage system, using GIS, what we can do is we can digitize all the data that we have, put it on single storage system, so that whenever we need, we can look at the back data, previous dated data, and then we can compare with the data that we have right now. If you're familiar with the current land record and parcel system of India, people are doing amazing job over there by digitizing all the sadbara that they have, sadbara documents that they have, into the digital form, so that it's very easy for anyone to simply put their basically ward number and things like that, and get their satbara printed right away. There is no need to walk to any office and things like that. If you want to make any changes, you can also do that online. So that's the beauty that we get when we combine the GIS with the data that we already have. This makes the life of urban planners very easy, because they can check any previous data and compare it with any data that they want, and they will get the result. Whether so if you consider earlier, most of the land surveying was used to do using theodolite and instruments like that, which obviously used to take a some sort of relative point as their base point. But when we convert that into a geo coordinate system, we get the exact and precise location of every single point, which makes it easier, because this is what we have personally faced when we were doing project in our last year, that when we do instruments using such when we do surveying using such instruments, we used to put stones or flags as our base point, and there is no guarantee that after 10 years those stones are going to be there. But when we capture the geo coordinate, it is going to be there as a same coordinate for the same location even after 1,000 years. So this makes life very easy for city planner to precisely plan the city. Second, what we wanted to understand is precise utility planning. This is something that I have personally worked upon for government of Dubai, where they wanted to get the entire data for a specific region as a 3D, and so that they can then do the visualization. They can understand how how the water is flowing basically, and then they can make an informative decision based on that. So based on this location information of each pipe, based on the information about the slope, we were able to convert entire data that was there on pen and paper into a 3D visualization, which then they can zoom in, zoom out, and can play with. So this is very important, that once you have the data, if you convert it in a proper format, then it will serve the purpose very easily. There are no man hours wasted now on finding a location, because now they know all the locations of all the pipes, all the taps, things like that. So whenever there are problems, they know the exact location where they want to go and they want to check. So that's the advantage that they have using GIS. Third is help desk planning. Again, the same thing. If you decide wherever you are located right now, if you decide to if you go out and if you see that some chamber is overflowing and things like that, if you decide to call someone and ask them to fix it, the major challenge in this scenario will be to convey what is the exact location of that chamber. You will have to give a location based on, the road or nearby things and things like that. But when we introduce location to it, when we, let's say, if there is an application where you log in and then where you just register a complaint and your phone will take your location and give it back to the authority. Imagine how simple the life will be when you have something like this in place. uh, and this is also helpful because once you start getting, as a city planner, once you start getting this request from people, it will be very easy for you to visualize this data, that from what particular area of your city most of the complaints are coming related to, let's say, water or related to electricity, which then will allow you to put your next office in that area. So these are all things connected. As I said, urban planning and GIS are just like brothers. You cannot separate them. They are connected in one way or another. Then the next thing that we mentioned was the data access portal. As I said, that most of the state governments and also the central government, of course, are now thinking to make this GIS data public so that anyone can view the data and can then use the data. It becomes very important to create a portal which is user friendly, the considering that the user of that portal will be anyone from 10th pass or any up to the PhD level. The user can be anyone, so creating a proper user friendly and stable portal is very important. And once you have that, whatever data that you get, you can directly put it over there for anyone to visualize. I was also working with PCMC, Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation, for one of their very interesting project, where then they had all this data uploaded and then they used to run a quiz that for this X region we want to do these four projects. So and they used to ask people to vote on which project that they want to do. And then it was so easy for government and as well as for people. So government already had these four projects in line and they will get an idea that which is the priority according to the people who are living over there. So this portal makes life very easy and bridges the gap of communication between the officers, between the authorities, and the normal public. And of course, when we have the data digitized, it's very easy to share that data. Consider this, that if you have a paper and you have a map drawn on that paper, and if you want to ship that paper from here to, let's say, someone sitting in Kerala, there is always a danger of losing that paper or something mishap happening with the paper. But when you have the data digitized, it's very easy for you to share, and there is no compromise over the quality. Finally, all these things helps us to make a better decision support system. Decisions are taken usually based on the computations. There are some formulas that city planners apply based on various data. And I can give you an example that the application that we developed for a forest department for one of the states in India, where they had data for slope, for rainfall, for soil moisture, soil content. All this data they had in a digitized format for the entire state. And they wanted to create an application where a user, like for example, for me, if I live in Kerala, or if I live in Kerala, I can locate my home, and if there is empty space, I can click on that point, and then basically the decision support system will spit out that what should be the plant that I can plant over there according to all these things, the slope, the rainfall, and things like that. So as you can see, this is a very simple thing. There are some set of formulas, and then there are tables of species of plants, with the information that for X plant, what should be the minimum rainfall, what should be the maximum rainfall, things like that. Based on this information, we created a decision support system for them, and then it just took out all the pressure of computation from the authority. Now they can focus more on identifying new plant species and improving the formula. They don't have to worry about computation anymore. They can just put this data into the into the GIS system, and then based on your location, the GIS system will fetch out all this information and will do the computation and will spit out the name of the species of the plant that you should plant. So this all becomes easier when you have the GIS data, when you have the exact formulas and the processing power of the computers. So these are all things that makes it easier for urban planner to take decisions in the decision support system. Now we discussed about the five challenges and how we can solve these challenges using GIS. Let's just now have a very simple look at what are different GIS tools available. So as we all know that the base of the entire system is data itself. So we need databases which can store and which can understand the GIS data the way it is meant to be. So because coordinates are usually in numeric format, the database, or let's say if you import that file in Excel, the Excel will treat that coordinate as any other number. It won't recognize it as a location. But when it comes to special databases, they will understand that okay, we are trying to import a location of some information about some location, and they will get it in the way that we want, so that we can then do a GIS analysis on that data. So such databases are Postgres, for example, if you have heard about MySQL and things like that. Then GIS softwares. Most of the GIS analysts use some sort of softwares to do everyday jobs. So, for example, your digitization, route finding, or processing the data. All these things can be done using the GIS softwares. So, ArcGIS, ArcMap is one of the software. QGIS is one software. GrassGIS is one of the software. Things like that. If you decide to merge one more brother into it, so urban planning, GIS, and now web development, then you can get into the GIS programming. And then you can develop tools, develop online dashboards, or develop decision support systems online, help tools online using programming. And then you can create such applications which will understand the GIS data and which will treat those GIS data in a way that we want it to be. So such things, such programming languages are, of course, the programming languages are same. So Python, JavaScript, Ruby, Golang, things like that. And then there are some packages that are developed on top of that which will understand the GIS data. So ArcPy is one of the example. OpenLayer's JavaScript library is one of the example, and of course GeoServer, which allows us to share the data. Now the real question is, how do you get started? So if you are interested into GIS, and if you want to understand what the heck is GIS anyways, I would recommend to watch these two videos. First is GIS development, myth, reality, and how to get started. And then if you decide to get into the GIS development, then you can definitely watch the second video about GIS developer starter guide. These both videos I have created because as I started doing GIS development myself, I faced that a lot of people who are coming into the GIS stream are not from computer science background at all. They are either from geography, they are from civil engineering, and of course they are from urban planning. And then every now and then there would be a question popping up on my LinkedIn chat that, hey, I want to get into GIS development, but I have zero knowledge about computer science. How do I get started? And at some point I used to get this question so often that I decided maybe then it's best that if I create a video. If you watch this video, you'll understand that what exactly is GIS development and whether this is something for you to pursue or not. So this is everything that I wanted to deliver in terms of geoinformatics as a career. And now let's take some questions if you guys have any. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a very informative presentation, sir.
Thank you.
So we can just wait for some time, and we can just wait
Okay.
for questions. You all can put your questions in the comment box if you have any. So we just have a question. So this person is asking, does knowledge in GIS programming language give an advantage in GIS? Sorry, does knowledge in programming language give an advantage in GIS, like any programming language knowledge?
To be honest, that totally depends upon what do you want to do when you get in GIS itself. So, for example, if you want to build a dashboards or applications, and of course you will have to merge the knowledge of web development along with the GIS. So if you know basic stack, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that's, I think that's enough for you to get started with it, of course. And then as you move forward, then you can always upgrade your knowledge. Right now everyone is into the web3 nowadays, blockchain, things like that. And yeah, people are combining blockchain knowledge with GIS as well to create amazing products. So yeah, with development, your imagination, wherever your imagination can take you, you can do that, not a problem. Yeah.
Yes, so I think you got your answer. So maybe we can wait for 2 3 minutes if there are any
Sure.
more questions.
Sure.
Also, meanwhile, I would like to just tell you that the presentation was really nice. Initially, you were saying that.
Oh no, that's that's not true, that's not true. Or if it is, then maybe tell it to my professor, man.
Sure.
There's a question that what would be the pay scale in our industry. Yeah, very very interesting question. And to answer this question, I will tell you one very interesting thing that I personally observed. So few months back I decided to take an online free session, and it's still going on, for the GIS development. So anyone who wants to learn GIS can join this, and then basically can learn GIS. Before starting this, what I did is I conducted a survey with 100 companies all over the globe, in order to ask them that, hey, I'm training people for GIS development. If I train them properly, will you be open to take them, and what will be the salary range that you are comfortable with, and given the fact that these are the people not from computer science industry, and these are the people who have just learned GIS development. Most of the answers, I would say more than 80% of the answers, were that they were very okay with hiring people who have zero knowledge, zero experience. I'm not saying, I won't say zero knowledge, but zero experience in GIS. They'll be very happy to hire, because this, if you think about it, is very niche field. If you combine development and GIS together, it's the skill set that you have is very amazing, very niche. And people are ready to pay for fresher with 0 days of experience, anyway between 15,000 all the way up to 55,000. I still have that Google sheet, where I collected all these responses. And if you follow my YouTube playlist, at the end of this sheet, when we will be having a hackathon, after that I will be releasing this, and I will be asking all these 100 companies to please come and take the interviews, and maybe hire a few people. So the response was amazing. People nowadays are very eager, companies are very eager to hire GIS developers, and that's the problem, they cannot find good GIS developers in the industry as of now.
Okay, so I think he got his answer. And I just had a question. Can you judge someone's knowledge of planning, maybe urban planning or any field of planning, on the basis of their knowledge of GIS? Like, is it mandatory for a person to be good at GIS if you want to be a good urban planner?
Okay, interesting question. Now, okay, to answer this, I will give you two urban planners. Okay, urban planner A and B. Now, both of them have the data. Okay, both of them have the data of, let's say, city of Pune. They have the buildings, they have all the zones, industrial zones, commercial zones, things like that, all the way for, let's say, last 50 years. Now, one person decides to look at that data in a paper format and then do the calculations on their own, and try to understand that, what should be the prediction, how will be the population move by, let's say, 2030 in Pune. Second is same data, one guy digitizes it, put it obviously in a GIS database, uses some artificial intelligence, and then tries to predict. So who do you think, will have a better result? It's that. So GIS, so if you think about it, the trend of GIS in India started, I don't know, around like 5 6 years ago. I'm not saying that the trend as in like no one knew before that. There are companies in India which are 20 years older in GIS, but a lot of people now have realized the potential of the location. Consider Uber or Zomato. These companies are nothing if you pull out the location information from them. How do Uber charge you? Uber will get your location, it will try to understand how many taxis are nearby. If there are few taxis, then it will ask you to pay the surcharge. If there are many taxis, it won't. So it's as simple as that. You can use, so you can survive your whole life without GIS, not a problem. But yeah, of course, if you learn it, you have a niche skill which obviously has a much more demand. So yeah, that's the answer.
Yes, thank you, sir. So we have another question. So the question says that IIRS offers various courses on geoinformatics like PG diploma, MTech, and MSc. So how are they different, and how is the scope of these courses going forward?
Okay, great question. Unfortunately, I'm just a bachelorette guy, and that too in civil engineering. I never pursued any master's course. So from that angle, I cannot give you much more insight. But at some point, I decided to do masters in GIS, and then again, I did my thorough research. And if you know, there is the University of Twente in Netherlands, which is supposed to be the best university for GIS. And I talked with a lot of people over there on Facebook, try to understand, try to get insight of what exactly will I learn, and what is the scope after that, what is the job opportunities after that, and things like that. And what I realized is that these courses focus more again on theoretical knowledge. I'm not trying to demotivate anyone, but they will get you into the exact theoretical knowledge, which also makes sense a lot when you want to focus on something. So for example, if you want to get into the water management using GIS, it's always best for you to do the master's course. But if you want to do something like me who wants to develop applications based on GIS, then maybe not. It all depends upon what do you want to do. If you want to do masters, if you want to do doctorate, and then if you want to work in a research field, then of course doing the course will make sense. But for most of the time, I think for me, what if anyone asks me, I would personally recommend to get into the industry, take whatever job that you get into the GIS, try to see what it is like in GIS for at least 6 months, and then decide whether you want to do the course or not. So that's what my personal recommendation will be.
Okay, sir. So with that, I think we are coming towards the end of this webinar. So I just had one small question.
Mhm.
So what do you think would be better, to be a freelancer or to opt for a job with a company in GIS?
Ah, you can never become a freelancer if you don't do a job, because again, with the job, the very funny thing about job is that people, so how I started is I knew nothing about GIS, and then I started applying for companies, to the point where I find a company who is like, okay, you come, you sit, you work for us, we are not going to pay you. If that's okay with you, then you come. And it was perfect opportunity for me, because now I was working day in day out with someone who is like very good in GIS, and that person is still very important for me, because if you consider, if I decided to do masters for 2 years, I will be paying fees to the institution, going there and learning something. Whilst if I decide to do a job, I will do a job and then people will pay me. So that's one thing. And once you do the job, whatever mistakes that you make, you're not going to pay from your pocket, basically. If you screw up the job, maybe yeah, you'll get fired from the company, but no one is going to ask you to pay something. While in freelancer, that's not the case. If you screw up, they can easily sue you. So what my recommendation is, until unless you get confidence, of course stick to the job, do the job. And of course, if you want to do freelancing, you always have after hours, after 5, 9 to 5. So yeah, be a freelancer after 5 o'clock for at least few years. Yeah.
Yes, okay, so that's great. And we just got another question. So basically, these are two different questions. So the first one is, which programming language is the best to excel in GIS development? And the second is, how did you excel in your GIS development and what challenges you faced in your journey?
Okay, great question. Right now, if you look at the trend, I think JavaScript and Python is taking the programming industry to the whole new level. So if you are a newbie, I would highly recommend to start with JavaScript, because I think when you work with JavaScript, you can see the results on your computer, and that's very exciting. So personally, I started with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and because I used to see the result if I type a code and if I execute it. I used to see the data on my computer, and it was very motivating for me. And later, when you decide to move into the analysis or backend, then Python may be helpful for you. But again, the beautiful thing about programming language is that there is no best language, such as there is no best camera phone, or no best phone, or no best laptop. Again, there is no best programming language. If you know how to work with Dell laptop, if I give you HP, you can work with it. Just you have to be very good at least one language, and then it's the journey becomes very easy. You can definitely shift from JavaScript to Python within a month, if you know JavaScript very well. Therefore, to answer your second question, yeah, challenges, you won't face challenges daily, you will face challenges every hour, because programming is all about fixing the bugs. And yeah, if you have passion about it, then only I would highly recommend you guys to get into it. Because lot of my friends as well, they want to get into the industry because of the pay scale. If you graduate from civil engineering, I don't know, you'll be getting 15,000, 20,000 a month. If you graduate from computer science, if you go to TCS, they will immediately give you 30,000. That's really key point for people. And that's why they want to get into the computer science. But that's not that will only work for few months, I would say. Because you will face challenges every hour. You will see that you have written the same code that you got from someone, and then it's not working on your computer, and it's frustrating from time to time. But again, the best way to learn is to get a job. Because of course, when you have pressure, then then it's because that then you try your best to perform. So that's how I learned, basically.
All right, so that's really great. And we have one more question. Actually, this is I also had a similar question. So, how to judge someone's GIS knowledge? GIS has a lot of features and geoprocessing tools, but how do I limit myself that this much knowledge will be enough, or this much will be enough to start with?
The very good answer to this question is that whatever company that you're applying to, if they say that, okay, you have enough skill set, then that's fine. Because, as I said, there is no limit. In programming, there's no limit. People are building rockets, and also people are building, portfolio websites. So you can expand to whatever your imagination takes you. But okay, so the bare minimum, what I would recommend is that you do your research about the job that you want to do. Go on LinkedIn, find out that job titles, look through their job description, and then just try to get those skills. I think that should be more than enough. See, companies, if you want to get into development, companies will ask you to have basic knowledge of web development, of course, and then some sort of GS knowledge. So if you go into the open source world, they will ask you if you know Geo server, if you know open layers, leaflet, things like that. If you want to work with SRE stack, they will ask you if you know ArcGIS and things like that. So again, there are so many things that you can learn. And that's what I said, I would highly recommend you guys to check out my videos, because there I have exactly written, if you want to start, what are all paths that you have, and what are all paths that you can take and move forward. So I think that will be very helpful for you to watch that video. If you still have a doubt, of course, you can connect to me on LinkedIn, and then we can continue it over there.
All right, so I think we have had a lot of questions already. And so, guys, if you have any more questions, you can always contact Sir on his LinkedIn. And with that, I think we come towards the end of this webinar. It was a very informative webinar for all of us. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, sir, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
And it was a pleasure having you here, sir. And see you guys at the convention from 1st to 3rd of April at next day in Bangalore. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.